On that night, the auditorium was overflowing beyond its capacity. The audience didn't know what to expect. The judges didn't know what was coming. Even the host backstage had no idea that history was about to be made. The stage lights dimmed, a soft blue glow spread across the floor, and there was a hush, not because someone had told the audience to be quiet, but because everyone instinctively felt something different in the air. It was the calm before a storm of emotion that nobody could ever forget. Then, from the side of the stage, a young man stepped out. He was wearing a simple white clergy shirt, neatly pressed, and black trousers. No fancy costume, no dramatic entrance, no overacting, just a humble, peaceful presence. He looked younger than his age, with soft features, warm eyes, and a smile so gentle that it almost didn't match the intensity of the show. He held a microphone like it was something sacred, something he respected. The entire crowd wondered who he was. A few people whispered. Some people thought he might be a choir singer. Some thought maybe he was there to give a spoken word performance. But nobody imagined what he was really capable of. The judge sitting in the middle leaned forward and asked in a calm, curious tone, "Tell us your name and why you're here." The young man took a breath, smiled softly, and said, "My name is Daniel. I am 22 years old. I'm from the Philippines, and I am a priest." The entire audience reacted instantly. Gasps, surprised murmurs, and even a few cheers echoed across the room. The judges exchanged looks. They were intrigued, unsure, and already emotionally invested without a single note being sung. One judge asked, "A priest on this stage, that's something we've never seen. Why did you decide to audition?" The young man lowered his eyes for a moment, as if searching for the right words. Then he looked up and replied, "I love serving people, and I love God. But I also love music. Ever since I was a child, music has been my way to connect with people, a bridge to heal hearts. Today, I want to share the gift I was given, not for myself, but for everyone here." A wave of respect washed across the room. The judges nodded. The audience fell completely silent again. This wasn't just a contestant. This wasn't just another audition. This was someone who came with purpose, with sincerity, and with a message hidden behind the music he was about to deliver. The host backstage whispered to a crew member, "I've never seen the room this quiet before a performance." When the music began, it wasn't the loud, dramatic opening that people expected. It was soft, gentle, like the first few drops of rain before a beautiful storm. A piano melody filled the auditorium, slow and emotional. Daniel closed his eyes, held the microphone with both hands, and then, he began to sing. The moment his voice came out, the audience collectively inhaled. His voice didn't sound like it belonged to a 22-year-old. It didn't sound like something from this world. It was pure, angelic, perfectly controlled yet full of raw emotion. It felt like his voice carried every prayer, every hope, every heartbreak he had ever witnessed. His tone was warm, his vibrato delicate, his pitch flawless. It wasn't just singing, it was storytelling, it was spiritual, it was something deeper than performance. A woman in the audience covered her mouth as tears pooled in her eyes. A man in the second row put a hand on his chest, as if he needed to steady his heartbeat. Even the judges, known for harsh criticism and emotional restraint, couldn't hide what they were feeling. One judge blinked rapidly, struggling not to cry. Another leaned so far forward that it looked like he was afraid to miss even a second of the performance. Daniel lifted his voice to the chorus, and that's when the magic truly happened. His voice soared, reaching notes that seemed impossible for someone so calm, so composed. But he didn't just hit the notes. He shaped them with emotion, with sincerity, with meaning. It felt like he was singing to every person in the room individually. He wasn't performing, he was connecting. The camera caught a little boy in the front row who whispered to his mother, "Mama, is he an angel?" Tears streamed down the woman's face as she nodded, unable to speak. The judges were frozen. None of them moved. None of them blinked. They were speechless, not because they wanted to be quiet, but because they had forgotten how to breathe. Then the second chorus came, and something even more unbelievable happened. Daniel raised his voice higher, stronger, fuller. His voice carried a power that didn't come from ambition or showmanship, it came from purpose, from faith, from the passion inside him. The audience started crying openly. People wiped their eyes, squeezed the hands of loved ones, and simply listened. Halfway through the performance, the cameras captured one of the judges whispering under his breath, "This is not normal, this is divine." Even backstage, the crew had stopped working. They weren't adjusting cameras or checking audio levels. They were watching, entranced. As Daniel reached the final lines of the song, the entire room felt like it was holding its breath. His voice softened, then rose again in a perfect blend of control and emotion. It was the kind of moment that happens once in a generation. When he sang the very last note, he held it just long enough to let it settle into the hearts of every person present. And then, silence. No music, no applause, no sound at all, just stunned silence. For a moment, it felt like time had stopped. Then, without warning, the silence shattered. The audience erupted into a standing ovation so loud and so powerful that the stage floor vibrated. People cheered, screamed, cried, clapped, and reached out their hands as if wanting to touch the miracle they had just witnessed. The judges stood instantly, without hesitation, their eyes wide with disbelief. The camera zoomed in on one judge whose voice cracked as she said, I have no words. This is one of the most beautiful performances I have ever experienced in my life." Another judge put a hand on his chest and said, "Your voice, it doesn't just reach the ears. It reaches the soul. I have never felt this way from a performance. You are truly, undeniably blessed." The final judge stepped forward, his expression serious but soft, and said, "Young man, tonight, you didn't just sing. You lifted this entire room. You made us forget where we were. You made us forget the world outside. You brought peace, beauty, and pure emotion to this stage. This wasn't just talent. This was a calling, and we are honored to have witnessed it." The audience roared again. Some people shouted his name. Others simply cried and applauded. Daniel stood there, his eyes glossy but his smile calm. He bowed deeply, not like a celebrity, but like a humble servant grateful for the moment he had been given. When it was time for the judges to vote, nobody doubted the outcome. The first judge said, "It's a yes from me, 1,000 times yes." The second judge said, "The world needs to hear you. Absolutely yes." The third judge didn't hesitate. "For me, you are a yes. Not just for this competition, but for every heart you touched tonight." The fourth and final judge smiled, leaned forward, and said, "Yes. 1,000 times yes. You are going far in this competition. And trust me when I say, this is only the beginning." The crowd exploded once more as Daniel covered his face in disbelief. The host rushed onto the stage and gave him a hug, saying, "You didn't just pass the audition. You changed the energy of the entire room tonight." Backstage, Daniel's family waited anxiously. When he stepped through the curtain, they embraced him tightly, tears streaming down every face. His mother, trembling with emotion, whispered, "God gave you this gift for a reason, and tonight, you showed the world why." The video of his performance went viral within hours. It broke records. Millions watched, shared, and commented. People from every country, every culture, and every belief reacted with overwhelming love. Some said his voice brought them peace. Others said it helped them through pain they had carried for years. Some said they felt something spiritual, even magical, as if his song was a message meant for them personally. Music critics called him the voice of light. Others called him the miracle singer. But Daniel himself stayed humble. In an interview the next day, he said, "I don't sing to impress. I sing to uplift. If people felt something, even for a moment, then that's the real reward." As the competition progressed, Daniel continued to stun the judges with every performance. Each week, he chose songs with meaning, songs that told stories, songs that touched souls. The audience began bringing tissues because they knew tears were guaranteed whenever he performed. People attended the show not just to watch, but to feel something. In the semi-finals, he performed a song entirely dedicated to people who were struggling silently, those who carried heavy burdens but continued to smile. The performance was so emotional that even the judges cried openly on live television. The clip trended worldwide. In the finals, he delivered a performance that would later be called one of the greatest finales in talent show history. He sang a powerful, breathtaking piece that combined vulnerability and strength, sorrow and hope, struggle and triumph. When he finished, the entire audience didn't just stand. They stayed standing for over 2 minutes, cheering him like a hero. The judges were speechless again. One judge finally said, "I've been here for many years, watched thousands of performers, but tonight, I felt something I have never felt before. You are extraordinary." Another judge said, "People come on this stage to win. But you came to inspire. And you succeeded beyond anything we imagined." Although the final voting results were close, the impact of his voice reached far beyond the competition. Even after the show ended, millions continued watching his performances, sharing them, and talking about how he touched their hearts. Daniel returned to the Philippines not as a celebrity, but as a symbol of hope. People greeted him warmly, not with screaming crowds, but with respect. Churches invited him, not for fame, but for healing events. He sang for children, for the elderly, for the sick, and for communities in need. Wherever he went, people said they felt comfort just by hearing his voice. As time went on, his story inspired thousands of young people to follow the dreams, even if the world told them they weren't supposed to. He showed that humility and talent can coexist, that faith and creativity can work together, and that sometimes the most unexpected people carry the most extraordinary gifts. Looking back at his journey, one thing became clear: he didn't just stun the world with his voice. He reminded everyone of the power of sincerity, purpose, and heart. He reminded people that music is more than entertainment. It is connection. It is healing. It is unity. Answer: the story of the 22-year-old Filipino priest who stunned the world isn't just a moment in a show. It is a reminder that extraordinary people still walk among us. People who bring light, hope, and inspiration without asking for anything in return. People whose voices are not just heard, but felt. Thank you so much for watching this video. If this story touched your heart even a little, make sure to subscribe for more incredible journeys like this one. Your support means everything. And before you go, remember this: sometimes the most powerful voices come from the most unexpected places. Until next time, stay inspired, stay hopeful, and stay blessed.